Sorry to always be a bother. Thanks again for this time. Ava said this with a smile, seemingly without any guilt for making us pay. She just hitches a ride on her trips as usual, thinking of my husband James as nothing more than a walking wallet. I let out another sigh, lost count of how many it's been. By the way, Ava's parents are coming this time too. This sudden change of plans caught me off guard. Of course, Ava has no intention of paying for her parents either. James, too, won't say a word about paying in front of Ava, just pretending to be generous. I knew he'd come back to me later, demanding, "You pay half." Surprised by this unexpected news, I secretly smirked, seeing it as a chance for revenge. Watching James get all excited, I chuckled to myself. Yeah, sure, it's fine. After all, this is the last time. Last time? I nodded with a big smile. The two of them looked surprised for a moment, but then burst into laughter, thinking it was just a joke. They seemed to think my words were just a joke, laughing it off and resuming their conversation. Watching the two of them get carried away, I didn't bother to respond. I was biding my time, caressing the tool I had hidden in my bag, eagerly awaiting the moment for my revenge. I'm Camilla, turning 63 this year. My husband and I, we've always loved traveling. We used to arrange trips several times a year around our work. Even after having kids and retiring, this didn't change. I thought we'd continue enjoying our hobby, but then things changed when Ava, the wife of our eldest son William, came into our lives. After William got married, Ava started visiting us often. William, busy with work, was relieved to know Ava was at her parents' home, so I didn't say anything. We were happy, a woman Ava's age, almost like a daughter to us, coming to visit. But I started feeling uncomfortable with my husband James's attitude towards Ava. "Thanks for dinner, as always." "It's nothing. I enjoy cooking when you're here." "That's right. Cooking's about the only hobby Camilla has. She's really happy when you visit." James sometimes put me down when talking with Ava. Comparing me and Ava with a mother-daughter age gap, he'd say things like, "Ava has such beautiful skin," or "Camilla should learn from Ava's high sense of beauty." Sure, Ava always comes over looking nice with her hair and dress, but being compared to someone a generation apart is troubling for both me and Ava. I'd reprimand James when he got carried away with his drinks, saying all these nice things. "Hey, can you stop? You're making Ava uncomfortable." "What's wrong? Can't I say the truth? Are you jealous of Ava's beauty?" "Of course not. What are you talking about?" "Then don't complain. Ava, sorry about this. Camilla, unlike you, is getting on in years and tends to get angry easily." James said this with a laugh, unrepentant as ever, and I sighed. Maybe because we never had a daughter, James was overjoyed when our son brought home someone as charming as Ava. But lately, James' behavior seems too much. He's not just mocking me, he pays excessive attention to Ava. I thought it was a joke at first, but I can't forget what James blurted out in his excitement. "James, you're always so kind to me. I'm really grateful." "Right? I bet I'm a better man than William, huh?" "What are you saying?" "William has always been soft. I can protect Ava." James was practically telling Ava that he's a better man than William. The fact that James would say such things to Ava, his son's wife, filled me with disgust. "By the way, you two travel a lot, right? William told me." "Yes, it's been our hobby for years." "Lucky. William's too busy with work to travel anymore." Ava said this with a slight sadness in her smile, looking at James. I could easily guess James's next words, feeling a chill at Ava's anticipatory expression. "Well, how about you join us on our next trip?" "Really? I feel bad, though." James's face lit up, happily inviting Ava. James seemed to have no intention of considering my opinion from the start. Ava, saying, "I feel bad," showed no signs of reluctance. She looked at me with her hands on her cheeks. "But I don't have money to spare." "Don't worry. We invited you. We'll pay, right?" "Well..." James eagerly sought my agreement, and Ava, hugging James in triumph, thanked him cheerfully. Her triumphant look might have been my imagination, but she definitely squinted at me with a sly smile. "We're planning to leave next month, so get ready." "Okay, I understand. Thank you." I could only watch the two of them excitedly ignoring me with a cold gaze. "What about the hotel? We haven't booked for Ava." "We'll just have to do it now. Take care of it, will you?" "Why should I handle it when you happily invited her?" "Camilla, why are you so cold when Ava's willing to come?" After Ava left, I told James we only booked for two. He responded as if I was being unreasonable. He insisted I be nice to Ava but wouldn't make hotel reservations or buy theater tickets himself. He even hesitated to cover the costs he boasted about. His attitude frustrated me, especially when he joked, "Ava can even sleep in my room if necessary." This discomfort continued throughout the trip. James spent the entire trip pleasing Ava. If Ava said, "I'm not interested in the theater," he'd waste our carefully prepared tickets and change plans. He wooed her without reproach, leaving me disheartened. "Hey, Ava, I hate to say it, but it's troubling when our plans get disrupted. I'm sorry. I got carried away because James is so kind." "It's okay. I'm happier when you rely on me." No matter what I said, Ava would look at James and he'd end up scolding me instead. Ava knew James was on her side, often making provocative statements, and James would always retort, "What's wrong with doting on my son's wife?" "I'm sorry, I'm always having fun at your expense. I'm just a nuisance, aren't I?" "Not at all. I'm really enjoying myself with you here. Camilla's the one who's always complaining, more of a nuisance." "Are you serious?" Emboldened, Ava started timing her visits to our home, joining our trips as if it were a given. Perhaps James had been inviting her in advance for these trips, yet he never told me. Despite this, I was mostly left to handle the travel expenses caused by Ava. During the trips, Ava never attempted to pay, always leaving it to James. She didn't even bother to bring her wallet. "This is cute. I'd like it as a souvenir." "Sure, I'll buy it for you." "Really? Thank you." James's eagerness to please Ava only led to more extra payments. And later, James would grudgingly hand over money, claiming, "I'm just responding to Ava's requests." What should have been enjoyable trips became nothing but an unnecessary expense, and my frustration grew. Repeated trips like these were grating on my nerves. Talking to them didn't help, so I decided to speak directly to William about Ava. However, the response I got from William was worse than I could have imagined. "Hey, William, Ava's always tagging along on our trips. Can something be done about it?" "Well, I heard Dad happily invites her. They make decisions without consulting me, and she doesn't pay." "Wait, what? That's odd. I heard she pays her own way." It seems William had been misled by Ava. He believed Ava was paying her own way on trips because James forcefully invited her. Of course, I hadn't received a dime from Ava, and knowing James, he wouldn't have taken money from her either. Yet William seemed to think I was making up stories to harass Ava. "That's not a joke. If you think that, she doesn't need to come anymore. Ava's trying to get along with you and Dad. There's no need to talk like that. How can I get along with someone who makes up lies and plays the victim?" I tried explaining the truth to William, but I had no proof that Ava wasn't paying for the trips. William seemed torn about who to believe. Later, he talked to Ava again, who insisted, "I've been paying my share." In fact, she tearfully told William, "Camilla's falsely accusing me of not paying even though I do. She hates me." Moved by her tears, William seemed to side with Ava, sighing over the phone. Frustrated with William's doubts, I felt at a loss. Ava never even opens her wallet when she comes on trips. She says she has no disposable income since she's not working, but she says she's paying. If that's true, then she's using your earnings for the trips, right? If you really believe she's paying, calculate exactly how much she's contributed. In a situation with no allies, I rebuked William harshly. I was at my limit with Ava's manipulative behavior and James's complacency in paying for her. I decided to take revenge, gathering information to convince William. On the next trip, Ava joined us in her usual manner. Her small, high-brand bag seemed to hold only her mobile phone, certainly no wallet. "Sorry to be a bother. Thanks again for this time." Ava said this with a smile, seemingly guilt-free about making us pay. She casually got into the passenger seat of James's car and gave him a friendly smile. Watching Ava, James smiled back. Seeing them, I sighed again. Normally, I would have just endured it for my own peace, but not this time. Clearing my throat in the back seat, I glared at the two, planning to plunge them into hell. "James, about today's trip. How about here? I've always wanted to go." "Sure, I'll take you wherever you want." "I'm so happy. Thank you." Ava, who hadn't brought a penny, seemed well prepared with places she wanted to go, showing James on her mobile phone, completely disregarding the original plan. Ignoring the usual, I checked my preparations for the revenge. Then James, as if remembering, turned and dropped a bombshell. Right, Ava's parents are coming too. What? I told my parents about our trips, and they got jealous. So I thought, why not invite Ava's parents too? I'll pay for everything so Ava doesn't have to worry. James conveyed this with a smile to Ava, glancing at me with a side eye. Shocked by this sudden change of plans, I was taken aback. Naturally, Ava wouldn't intend to pay for her parents, and James wouldn't dare suggest it in front of her, acting all generous. I was sure that once we got back, James would again tell me, "You pay half." Stunned and irritated by this unexpected news, I smirked, sensing my chance for revenge. Well, that's convenient. Smiling, I said that, and James looked at me with a nasty grin. Right. He resumed, driving in high spirits, even starting to hum. Maybe he misunderstood that his wife's approving meant he could impress Ava's parents. Or perhaps he thought I'd generously pay, having agreed so easily. Watching his buoyant demeanor, I chuckled to myself. Thank you, Camilla. It's okay, this is the last time. The last time? I nodded with a full smile. The two looked surprised at me for a moment, but soon laughed, thinking it was just a joke. They didn't take my words seriously. Ava is our dear son's wife, after all. We'll keep traveling together, right? Of course. So I'm counting on you in the future, Camilla. I kept smiling but didn't respond to the two of them, getting carried away. Knowing the unexpected events James hadn't told me about, it was all bearable thinking these two would soon see hell. In the evening, we arrived at the hotel and met Ava's parents. Then we were shown to our rooms. As usual, Ava and James said they would rest in their respective rooms. Of course, they were in separate rooms, but I knew exactly what they were up to when they said this. So I intentionally told them, I think I'll have a drink with Ava's parents. Sounds good. Have fun. I deliberately left them alone, and as they said, have fun, Ava waved at me with a smile. Her attitude seemed to imply that it was more convenient for me not to be there, which confirmed my suspicions. Anticipating the need to leave evidence, I approached Ava's parents. May I show you something? They looked puzzled, so I quietly turned on my mobile phone and showed them a video. Nice room. Your room looks great too. Really? Then you can come to my room. What I started showing them was a video from a camera I had just set up in the room. It was in the room where James and I were staying, and Ava appeared as if it was natural. Ava's parents watched, puzzled by their familiar behavior. I always arrange the hotel and trips for you. We could even travel just the two of us, without Camilla. That's too bad for Camilla. But Camilla's really angry that I don't pay. Don't worry about it, Ava. I'll talk sternly to Camilla. The screen continuously showed Ava flirting with James and him being visibly pleased by it. Their interaction, which didn't seem fitting for a conversation between a father-in-law and a daughter-in-law, grew more animated and seemed to mock me. Seeing her own daughter speak with such terrible insults about me, Penelope, Ava's mom, looked at me with a pale face. What in the world? What is Ava doing? This video is from a camera in my and my husband's room. It seems Ava is talking with my husband right now. This trip was supposed to be Ava expressing her gratitude to us. Oh, was it? I only learned today that you and your husband were coming. They seem to have decided everything on their own. I candidly told them everything about the past trips. I mentioned that Ava had not contributed any money, James's attitude, and how they both disregarded me. As I explained, Ava and James, captured on camera, seemed to be confessing. Their expressions changed rapidly, turning red and then pale as they watched the video. Throughout, I silently recorded James' inappropriate words, which didn't seem fitting for a conversation with his son's wife. Our daughter, I don't know how to apologize. I appreciate your understanding. I plan to cut ties with James and Ava after this. Feeling it was cruel to torment them further, I decided it was time to reveal the truth and headed to the room. Opening the door, James exclaimed, "Camilla, what's with the sudden entrance? What, is it a problem if I return to my own room?" "I didn't say that, but don't just open the door like that, it's startling." "Oh, sorry, I thought you had something to hide and were startled." Saying this, I replayed the video in front of them. Noticing Ava's parents behind me, their behavior became suspicious. "Did you want to travel alone? Were my presence and Ava's parents a bother?" "Well, Ava's parents told me if you invite them on a trip to express gratitude, shouldn't you pay yourself?" "What? No, that's not it. James said he'd pay for me." Ava desperately defended herself, and James spouted nonsensical outrage for setting up the camera. Seeing them unable to apologize even now, I felt my heart growing colder. Is this conversation true? William? At that moment, our eldest son, William, who was supposed to be away on a business trip, appeared unexpectedly. Ava turned pale with surprise at this unexpected guest. Of course, I had called William beforehand, preparing for this moment. Sensing something was wrong with the inconsistent travel expenses in the household accounts, William was no longer in Ava's corner. Ava, were you lying? No, James said he would take care of the expenses. I just got a little carried away, believe me. Oh, really? James, you made me pay all this time saying Ava didn't have any money. I played another video on my mobile phone at full volume. It showed a pathetic conversation where James grudgingly paid for the trip. Poor Ava, so I'll pay for her. And other nonsensical excuses from James filled the room. This man is broke. He made me pay for everything. How awful! I thought you had money, so I indulged a bit. Ava's true nature burst out as she listened to James' shameful words. Penelope, who had been silently listening, sharply rebuked a sheepish James and an argumentative Ava. Who's the worst here? I'm ashamed to be her mother. Penelope scolded Ava, her face turning red with anger. The intensity of her expression left William and me speechless. Ava is no longer my daughter. I should never have believed she was giving a trip as a present. I didn't mean it like that. This is terrible. Overwhelmed, Penelope's voice echoed across the floor. James then quietly approached me, saying, I was wrong to try to impress my son's wife. James finally offered an apology in a low voice, but his attitude, as if expecting forgiveness just because he apologized, pushed me to my breaking point. I told you this trip was the last. I don't need a husband who spoils his son's wife too much. Why? I'm apologizing. Do you think an apology is enough? I'm utterly disappointed. With that, I handed him the completed divorce papers. Realizing the irreversibility of his actions, James collapsed to his knees, head bowed. After the disastrous trip, William apologized, now knowing the truth. Ava, chastened by her parents, agreed to work and repay the money she owed for the trips. William wouldn't help her, and she started working part-time. I heard the high-brand bags and accessories James had lavished on Ava were also confiscated. James, for his part, was going around saying, I got divorced because I was financially drained by Ava, which led to another uproar. Apparently, he demanded money back from Ava, causing a commotion. Dad, was he always like that? I only remember him being good to you. Was he? Now that I think about it, he always seemed like a careless person who just shared a hobby of traveling with me. I listened to William's complaints about James, disillusioned by his lack of fatherly dignity, but to me, it was a story that only confirmed that divorcing was the right decision. James, having nearly drained our savings by excessively indulging Ava, and I finally divorced. I'm now living comfortably alone, having kicked him out. Free from the restraint I had endured till now, I'm planning travels to places I want to visit without anyone's interference.